first series, Janelle is going to talk about the first part. But if you do not, you should have a piece of paper in front of you that says Journey to Freedom Teen, a taste series, and it's series session 1. So if you don't have this, you can print it off on YSpace. So if you go to YSpace, and then you'll go to Teams, and go down to Mission Team. And then Mission Team, like on the left side, it is right now, there's a shared documents area. Go to that, and then there'll be a Journey to Freedom Teen file that you'll click, and then it'll say session 1, session 2, session 3. So you can just print all of those out at the same time if you don't already have it. But if you don't have it, pause, go run and print one off for each person so that you guys can follow along.
Great. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about how you introduce the first session. We call this experiencing safety. So the session 1 of the taste, its main objective is to help the students, the teenagers, realize that inside a Journey to Freedom, there's going to be a place created for them that is safe for conversation and safe for them to actually talk about their life. That's a big issue for adults, but really big issue for teens. There's lots of bullying that goes on. There's lots of criticism, and people don't fit in, and all those kinds of things. There's a lot of anxiety about even being in a group and talking honestly with other people. So we just want kids to know that it's going to be a safe place. So that's its main objective. The taste is seriously like 15 to 20 minutes max. I know some late nights say, they're family time, or what do they call it? Lots of different names in your in the association. But that gathering time sometimes is seriously only 10 minutes. We're saying that these need to be at least 15, but as you see how this is laid out, you'll know kind of how much time to put towards it. But so this taste, it's important that you start out that they understand what Journey to Freedom is. So before you even break up in small groups into you're in a large setting, there's one speaker at the front. That speaker needs to really talk about what Journey to Freedom is. And in your script, it has some suggestions and, the basic idea. So the taste is to give them a taste and to invite them into an 8-week process, Journey to Freedom group. So all 3 tastes, they can just keep being invited, and some of them may choose to jump into an actual group, which will then start following the tastes, all right? So after you explain from the front just basic Journey to Freedom, what it is, we also suggest that if you have someone, yourself or others, that have been through Journey to Freedom and have some kind of story to tell, that they would be given an opportunity to just say, hey, this is what it did for me and this is what it was like. That might be helpful in an explanation. So let's see, is there anything else I need to say? Just make sure you actually know when the actual Journey to Freedom group is starting, and that you have a sign-up sheet when you're talking about that, so the kids know how to actually say, yeah, that's what I want to do. So that's good. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's see. After the introduction, then still in the large group from the begin or from the platform, start talking a little bit about the importance of safety and how that's created inside of a Journey to Freedom group. And we use a group guidelines to do that. So just to explain, it says right here that we want to provide emotional, physical, and spiritual safety, that it's the foundation of our relationships within that small group. It's so important to do this. Trust really is built this way. It allows for genuine conversation. So that's what our hope is. So introduce the guidelines. Just walk through them. They're listed in your guideline piece. And there's really important ones, and you'll know which ones they are. Confidentiality is really big. They have to realize what that actually means, so explain that. It means that they don't talk about, right, what's talked about here, but they also don't bring it up when there's a bunch of other people around, that they're even in a group, unless that person wants to be known that they're in the group. So you need to really think through, not just breeze over confidentiality, and then talk about if that is broken and you feel like confidentiality has been broken for you, that they are to come to you and talk about that, and because you want to keep it safe, and that's good. Another one of the group guidelines that you might want to highlight is the ability to pass in the fact of talking. They don't have to talk anytime. They can just seriously listen in the group. Obviously, the more they engage, the more they talk, they're going to get more out of it, and that's what I would explain to them. But some kids don't want to be put on the spot, right? And it's important for them to know they're not going to go around in a circle and everyone has to answer every question, because that's pretty intimidating, and some people aren't ready to disclose various things or feel comfortable, but they can still be in the group. So I think those two, and then this really crazy one that you guys will go, what? But there's no advice giving, there's no fixing, and there's no rescuing inside of these groups. And that's probably the biggest thing that adults even struggle with. Like, we're so used to jumping in with our ideas, or well, you should try that, or why did you do that, or there's judgment, and there's, I don't know, it's normal for us to act that way. But in Journey to Freedom, we listen, and we affirm, and we encourage, and we share from our own experience. So if something gets triggered inside of a group and people can relate to it, that's fine that they talk about what they just heard, but it's always from their own perspective and their own experience. So that's really important, even inside of these tastes, that there's no reaction going on, no fixing, rescuing, all that kind of stuff. So that's what you just go over briefly, at least hitting those 3 rules inside of the taste as a person from the platform. So now Kelsey's going to talk about what we actually do in the small group on that first session. So take it away, Kelsey.
Thanks. And then also in the big group, remember to talk about that safety means emotional, physical, and spiritual safety. So make sure that the person from the front can really get that across, that these guidelines are in place to create those spaces of safety, and that they're a key part of Journey to Freedom, like Janelle said. And then, so at the end of the person up front, whoever you've picked to speak from the front, have that person divide the group of students into groups. Ideally, it'd be groups of about 6 to 10 with one facilitator. In Journey to Freedom, in the real classes, you always have 2 facilitators. But because it's a taste, and we know that some of you have large groups with not enough staff to do that size of group, you guys also are in charge of figuring that out for whatever fits your space. So let's say you have 60 students, but you only have 3 staff, then you'll have to do 20 in each group with, make sure that there's one staff or volunteer that can be a facilitator in that group that will enforce the ground rules and really be a safe place. So you can determine how you want to divide those groups up. And we're also fine if you want to decide that friends can be together, or if you want to divide them up. There's great things about either way. So then you'll divide up, and then as you can see on your sheet, now we're in small group time. So these are notes for the facilitator within the group as well. So to start out the small group time, just briefly go around and introduce yourself and everyone else by name, and then we'll go into the ground rules. So everyone should have a printed out sheet of the ground rules with them in the group, and please read over them together as a group again, and then you're just gonna discuss them. So as the facilitator, I'm gonna jump down actually to the facilitator notes, and it says prime the pump. As a facilitator, make sure that you're always ready to, if no one is ready to speak, obviously give space for the group members to speak first. But if they are not ready to speak and they're all just kind of, maybe nervous, be ready to be the first one to answer any of the questions. And then now I'm going to hop back up to the number 3. So you're going to ask the following questions of the group. one at a time and give space in between. Sometimes as facilitators or leaders in a group setting, silence can be awkward, and for us it can feel like a lot longer than it actually feels like for the members. So just make sure that silence can be our friend. So if it's a little awkward, that's okay, but obviously don't wait forever if no one's speaking. So question A, what guideline is most important to you and why? Next question is, how would you feel if any of these were broken? And then in your life, where have you experienced a safe place to share about your life and how you feel? For me personally, these questions mean a lot. I do find that it's rare to find a group of people I can share with. And at the end of me sharing, well, first off, it's hard to sometimes fully be able to share without somebody interrupting or jumping in. But if you are able to get through sharing, it's sometimes rare to have somebody just say thank you for sharing that. Most of the times it feels like at the end of it, somebody has some advice for me, or they have, they want to say, oh, I had that too, like, here's my story. And I didn't really feel fully heard. So I know for me, for question C, that would be my answer. And then obviously we all know how it feels when some of these ground rules are broken in our personal life. So as a facilitator, take a moment now before you all go out to meet with the teens in your program to think about those questions and what your answer would be, so you're ready for that. Then also down now back to facilitator notes. The creating spiritual safety, please read that section, but it's your responsibility as a facilitator to create that safe place. And for some of you, this may be totally brand new, but I know you all work with teens or volunteer with teens, so I'm sure you're aware of many situations like this. So be bold and gentle at the same time if you feel like any of the ground rules are not being followed. But this needs to be a safe place where you as a facilitator can be honest about what you believe spiritually or don't believe. If you have hope in something or something like that, this is totally a space where you can be honest with that. And we need to make sure that the students feel the same way, that they can be honest about how they encounter spirituality or different religions or any questions they have. So just make sure that you are being that and providing that, and also not pushing anything on anyone, but again, sharing your own experiences, not pushing it on anybody, but just make sure we're not trying to make people believe a certain thing. And then we'll go down, so for closing the session, remember to tell everybody that Journey to Freedom Teen is a space where you can share life, and then discover things in your life that you'd like to change, and then also a place where you can gain support and grow together in a healthy way and healthy spirit, mind, and body. So recap that at the end, and always remember to have your sign-up sheet there so that you guys can collect names of people. That's also on the Y Space Share Drive, but you probably also have it. But you can pass that around at the end of each session, and just so you can make sure you're keeping track of names. So that is session 1. Do you have anything to add, Janelle?
No, but I just want to thank you for jumping in to do this.
Oh,
It can really change a lot of kids' lives. We've seen so much transformation in so many adults. We've served like 1,500 adults in Journey to Freedom, and there's a lot of stories of change and transformation. So thanks for jumping into kind of a new space, even for ourselves as staff.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And good luck. Have fun.